What's up, guys? I want to talk to you about recent thoughts in society at large. And this is troubling and should be very troubling for Christians. In the recent shooting events in Texas, as the governor of the state comes on and he begins to talk to the public, and maybe he's on air and he's on the news, I'm not certain, but they're broadcasting this everywhere. One of the statements he makes nearly 50 times is that everybody needs to get some mental health counseling. We're going to make sure that you have the mental health support that you need. Guys, you might be tough and macho and maybe you thought you handled this well, but you need to go in for some counseling, for some mental health, and etc. And this is the thought and day and age. This is the thought of our day and age. And I want to explain this to you. Has psychology and psychiatry grown by leaps and bounds in the last few years? You better believe it has. It is as large as it's ever been. It is more prominent than it's ever been. And mental illness is as big as it's ever been. You see, several years ago, it's funny that we started including this as like mandatory teaching in schools, that you had to have a psychology class. I know I did in high school and in college. It's just mandatory that you learn these things. And here's one of the reasons this matters to me so much is because I like psychology more than you do. I almost bet that I've studied psychology more than you do. Man, when it talks about pushing people's buttons or why they act this way, or you can do this and someone will respond in this fashion over here, I am king of formulas, baby. I love learning these things. I eat that like candy. But what we're finding out is it's not so straightforward as they once portrayed that it was. You see, psychology and psychiatry is built off the foundation of evolution. We came from slime. We came from the animals. This is a materialistic world. There's no invisible values. There's no invisible reality, spiritual reality, or universe to backdrop all of this. And because that's the case, everything that happens with you is physical. Now, the reason they are calling it mental health is because you can't call it really emotional health, because we know emotions come and go and they're flippant and they're up and they're down. But anybody that has mental health issues is going to have some emotional instability. When we say mental, it sounds more like we can fix that. We can get in there and re-hardwire your brain to make things work as they should. Now, this is not the case. And the question I ask you is psychology and psychiatry growing larger than it's ever have? Proof of this that I would say is the reason. Here is the proof. Health insurance. At this point now, anybody can claim that they need some kind of counseling, and their insurance is just going to automatically cover it. That was not the case many years ago. It just wasn't the case. And now it's the case everywhere, and everybody's going to some sort of professional counseling all the time, and the hardwiring, the restructuring of your mind is what they're about. And they're so good at it that depression and suicide and some of these things are at an all-time high. And I know some people go, you can't blame that on us because world events have caused these things to go up. They were escalating way before then. Now, when we call it mental health, it's like the professionals can do something about that. But in actuality, our professionals today are scratching their head more than ever. And it's a secret, and it's a stat we want to push down, is that some of the highest suicide and depression rates come from the psychologist and the psychiatrist, because they can't figure out why people are so screwed up, or why they can't get things figured out, or why they can't make sense of this world. And it pushes them over the edge. All of this being the case, mental health is a distraction. The only true mental health issues that there are you following Jesus Christ as you should be? When you do not, when you break commands, you feel guilty. When you don't interact with the Lord like you should, you feel a void. When you do not love other people, you do not get love in return. When you walk around judgmental and critical all the time, it puts you in a negative frame of mind. When you don't obey the command not to worry and you worry, it loads your brain down with all sorts of negative chemicals because your body was given to you to help you do the things that you set out to do. You see, so if you are going to pursue sin, your body helps you to indulge in sin. And if your mind is pursuing sinful thoughts and activities, then your mind is going to reap the harvest of those sinful things. Mental health is a distraction. The true mental health is sin. Now, the psychologists and the psychiatrists, they cannot tell you this because if they do, then it kind of takes credibility away from what they're doing. They absolutely don't want to point you to the direction of sin being the issue because they can't program sin out of you. There's only one that can intercede for you. I just wanted to share this with you, that mental health comes from the materialistic viewpoint that we're just hardwired animals and that can be fixed. Even though the proof is that this isn't helping and it's not being fixed. But you want some proof? Go talk to some Christians that have surrendered their heart and life to the Lord and see if they don't testify about a changed life and what God has done for them in amazing ways.